this game today. Heard it was actually a decent game, and I wanted to try it out. So, I have no idea what to expect from this. So.
Dear Esther, I sometimes feel as if I've given birth to this island. Somewhere between the longitude and latitude, a split.
Okay, since they're speaking, I guess I'm just not gonna speak unless there's like lapses in what he's saying. So, I think it's just a game where you basically explore, so that might actually be really cool. But
Opened up, and it beached remotely here. No matter how hard I correlate, it remains a singularity, an alpha point in my life that refuses all hypothesis. I return each time leaving fresh markers that I hope, in the full glare of my hopelessness, will have blossomed into fresh insight in the interim.
that's a chemical symbol. I don't know what for, and this is actually kind of scary, so... This music does a really good job at scaring the shit out of me. Just paint splattered everywhere. High road or low road? I kind of want to explore down here first. I move very slow. Oh my god. I know the graphics aren't spectacular, but honestly, this is a really nice game. Just very... Like, just that is an amazing shot. That with some tweaks to lighting could look semi-real. I mean, when looking up close, it doesn't look all that great, but when looking from afar, it looks pretty good. So every button zooms in. Oh.
At night, you can see the lights sometimes from a passing tanker or trawler. From up on the cliffs, they are mundane. But down here, they fugue into ambiguity. For instance, I cannot readily tell if they belong above or below the waves. The distinction now seems banal. Why not everything and all at once? There's nothing better to do here than indulge in contradictions whilst waiting for the fabric of life to unravel.
Jeez, this dude's depressing. It's a Fibonacci spiral. Why do I have a feeling this dude descended into madness?
Dear Esther, I found myself to be as featureless as this ocean, as shallow and unoccupied as this bay, a listless wreck without identification. My rocks are these bones, and a careful fence to keep the precipice at bay. Shot through me caves, my forehead a mount. This aerial will transmit into me so. All overexposed, the nervous system, where Donnelly's boots and yours and mine still trample. I will carry a torch for you. I will leave it at the foot of my headstone. You will need it for the tunnels that carry me under.
Jesus, and I thought my letter was written in prose. So who am I playing? Am I playing him? Or am I playing Esther? Or am I playing someone completely different? Imagine if this was like done by a professional studio and done with better graphics. This would be insane to look at. Wait, does this lead me back to, was I at the lighthouse? Was that where I started? I don't know, I completely lost my way because I just fell down that mountain. Or, well, cliffside. Yeah, I started at the lighthouse. This is actually a really nice game, just the ambiance is nice.
Donnelly reported the legend of the hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side, and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude.
God, just the wind is terrifying. Why is wind so scary? I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I can't go that way. I'm honestly confused. Oh, okay. Oh, that's where that leads. That staircase.
The mount is clearly the focal point of this landscape. It almost appears so well placed as to be artificial. I find myself easily slipping into the delusional state of ascribing purpose, deliberate motive to everything here. Was this island formed during the moment of impact? When we were torn loose from our moorings and the seatbelts cut motorway lanes into our chests and shoulders, did it first break surface then?
What? I mean, I gotta say, I do like the voice acting. Very nice voice acting. But,
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
so he's sick and dying? What is he, a fucking zombie?
We are not like Lot's wife, you and I. We feel no particular need to turn back. There's nothing to be seen if we did.
And I just turned back.
No tired old man parting the cliffs with his arms. No gifts or Bibles laid out on the sand for the taking. No tides turning or the shrieking gulls overhead. The bones of the hermit are no longer laid out for the taking. I have stolen them away to the guts of this island, where the passages all run to black, and where we can light each other's faces by their strange luminescence.
What the fuck? This dude is weird. Oh, there's a boat over there.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
Okay, cool. Can I get...
This hermit, this seer, this distant historian of bones and old bread, where did he vanish to? Why, asked the farmers. Why, asked Jakobsen. Why bother with your visions at all, if you're just to throw your arms up at the cliff and let it close in behind you and seal you into the belly of the island, a museum shut to all but the most devoted?
What is it with that chemical symbol? I have to get one of my friends who knows something about chemistry to help me out with that. Sleeping bag. Why is the sleeping bag that big? I don't know where to go from here. Just realized there's a path here.
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl, and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could stomach, I'd eat, but all I seem capable of is salt water. Were the livestock still here, I could turn feral and gorge. I'm as emaciated as a body on a slab, opened up for a premature source of death. I've rowed to this island in a heart without a bottom, all the bacteria of my gut rising up to sing to me.
That'd be perfect for a picture. You know what? I'm gonna take a picture. Guys, a picture. Cause that's actually really cool. But this dude is crazy. That's a Bible thing with the symbol of the Kingdom of Jerusalem? The Crusaders? And chemistry. Okay, yeah, this dude was really going insane. Oh, what is this? Oh, it's it's this part. Not gonna fall down because if I do, that is gonna take forever to get back up. Seeing as I walk slower than a fucking turtle. What was that noise? Could have sworn I heard an echo or something. There it was again. I'm just prepared for a jump scare. I don't know why. It reminds me of like, not Amnesia, but I mean somewhat like Amnesia. It's been a long time since I played Amnesia. I completely forgot what Amnesia's about. I just remember Amnesia. And, it reminds me a little bit of Outlast. Or, is that the name of it? I don't remember. I think it was Outlast. The one where you couldn't fight back.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services, but although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Is that a buoy?
I've begun to wonder if Donnelly's voyage here was as prosaic as it was presented. How disappointed not to have found the bones of the holy man. No wonder he hated the inhabitants so. To him they must have seemed like barnacles mindlessly clinging to a mercy seat. Why cling so hard to the rock? Because it is the only thing that stops us from sliding into the ocean, into oblivion.
What? Again, this dude is batshit crazy.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
Oh. That explains it. He's slowly descending into madness because his wife died in a car accident. That makes a lot of sense.
begun to climb, away from the sea and towards the centre. It is a straight line to the summit, where the evening begins to coil around the aerial and squeeze the signals into early silence. The bothy squats against the mount to avoid the gaze of the aerial. I too will creep under the island like an animal and approach it from the northern shore. The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. Three cormorants seen at dusk. They did not land. This house built of stone, built by a long-dead shepherd. Contents: my camp bed, a stove, a table, chairs, my clothes, my books. The caves that score out the belly of this island, leaving it famished. My limbs and belly famished. This skin, these organs, this failing eyesight. When the battery runs out in my torch, I will descend into the caves and follow only the phosphorescence home.
There's the cave.
What to make of Donnelly, the laudanum and the syphilis? It is clearly not how he began, but I've been unable to discover if the former was a result of his visiting the island or the force that drove him here. For the syphilis, a drunk driver smashing his insides into a pulp as he stumbled these paths, I can only offer my empathy. We're all victims of our age. My disease is the internal combustion engine and the cheap fermentation of yeast.
So is dying, what? Something to do with his liver? Due to alcoholism?
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. All around him, small flowers were reaching for the weak sun. The goats had adjusted happily to life without a shepherd and were grazing freely about the valley. Donnelly reports they hurled the body in fear and disgust down the shaft, but I cannot corroborate this story.
Who the hell are these people?
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, wintered tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Why is there a candle lit? How is there? Someone was here recently. Whoa.
Donnelly did not pass through the caves. From here on in, his guidance, unreliable as it is gone from me. I understand now that it is between the two of us, and whatever correspondence can be drawn from the wet rocks.
Am I playing the narrator?
It was as if someone had taken the car and shaken it like a cocktail. The glove compartment had been opened and emptied with the ashtrays and the boot. It made for a crumpled museum, a shattered exhibition.
More things about chemistry. Whoever was here before was fucking insane. Music's fucking awesome. Oh, it's rocks. I thought it was a body. Try not to slip and die. That would be a good idea.
I'm traversing my own death throes. The infection in my leg is an oil rig that dredges black muck up from deep inside my bones. I swallow fistfuls of diazepam and paracetamol to stay conscious. The pain flows through me like an underground sea.
I'm sure I could probably, like, explore that entire area, but I don't feel like it because as slow as this dude walks, that's not gonna be fun. Sure this is the way I'm supposed to go anyway, so. Did I mention the music is awesome?
This is a drowned man's face reflected in the moonlit waters. It can only be a dead shepherd who has come to drunk drive you home.
This dude's story is like getting all wonky. Also, okay, it'll let me out. I got scared for a second. I was like, oh shit. Damascus. Can't read the first thing, can't read the second thing, but Damascus. That's what I can read. Oh my god. More symbols? Looks like a computer chip. Damascus. Those squids. And I can't read that. I don't know what that says. I think it's just has to do with the graphics. And somebody went fucking cuckoo. And here we are now. I don't know what those things are. Like, oh shit. The sound design of this game is perfect. The only problem I have is like just the graphics, but even then, like, oh. well, swimming technically. This game is beautiful, I must say. It very relaxing. Barrels, a tent. You know what? Screw it, we're taking a right.
The moon over the Sanford Junction, headlights in your retinas. Donnelly drove a grey hatchback without a bottom. All the creatures of the tarmac rose to sing to him. All manner of symbols crudely scrawled across the cliff face of my unrest. My life reduced to an electrical diagram. All my gulls have taken flight. They will no longer roost on these outcrops. The lure of the moon over the Sanford Junction is too strong.
Dear Esther, I find each step harder and heavier. I drag Donnelly's corpse on my back across these rocks, and all I hear are his whispers of guilt, his reminders, his burnt letters, his neatly folded clothes. He tells me I was not drunk at all.
Did this dude murder the guy? Oh yeah, I have to go to the cave. There's someone up there. There's a statue. Why do I have a feeling these are like alchemical symbols that make up like alcohol? Broken picture. Haha, because we're not supposed to see. Is that a truck? Oh, there's those those scratches that he was talking about. The white scratches.
There were chemical diagrams on the mug he gave me coffee in, sticky at the handle where his hands shook. He worked for a pharmaceutical company with an office based on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. He'd been travelling back from a sales conference in Exeter, forming a strategic vision for the peddling of antacid yogurt to the European market. You could trace the connections with your finger, join the dots, and whole new compounds would be summoned into activity.
A light from heaven shone around hell? I don't know. This is a beautiful game. Just, despite, again, not having the greatest graphics, just the scenery. Imagine this in the Red Dead game engine. Oh, fucking magnificent. Oh God, no.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
On a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Again, more Bible verse, or references to the Bible. This is weird. Hold on one sec, I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. You know, I wonder, there had to be other ways to get around besides, you know, going through the entire cave system.
The pain in my leg sent me blind for a few minutes as I struggled up the cliff path. I swallowed another handful of painkillers, and now I feel almost lucid. The island around me has retreated to a hazed distance, whilst the moon appears to have descended into my palm to guide me. I can see a thick black line of infection reaching for my heart from the waistband of my trousers. Through the fugue, it's all the world like the path I have cut from the lowlands towards the aerial.
Fugue? I've never heard that word before.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and casts parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
As he was proceeding, I don't think that's English, but okay. On his journey. Oh, as he was proceeding on his journey. It's just a bit of it is going down. There's, I think, a graphical issue. And was come... What? Okay, the music's scary again.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
It got dark. The wind is no bueno.
The stones in my stomach will weigh me down and ensure my descent is true and straight. I will break through the fog of these godforsaken pills and achieve clarity. All my functions are clogged, all my veins are choked. If my leg doesn't rot off before I reach the summit, it will be a miracle. There are 21 connections in the circuit diagram of the anti-lock brakes. There are 21 species of gull inhabiting these islands. It is 21 miles between the Sandford Junction and the turn-off for home. All these things cannot, will not be a coincidence.
Huh.
Come back.
Ah.
A gull perched on a spent bonnet, sideways, whilst the sirens fell through the middle distance and the metal moaned in grief about us. I'm about this night in walking, old bread and gull bones, old Donnelly at the bar gripping his drink, old Esther walking with our children, old Paul as ever, old Paul. He shakes and he shivers and he turns off his lights alone.
Am I Paul? Wait, what? Something more with me.
We will leave twin vapor trails in the air, white lines etched into these rocks. Dear Esther,
Okay, so no
I
one
have burnt my
controlling this.
belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We've always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
I'm a bird? What? I assume I committed suicide and just all of this. Just the ravings of a madman. I have no clue. Was that final note supposed to be like the someone flatlining? Hmm. Huh. Nigel Carrington. Hmm. Well, that was a really good game. I, I'm surprised to be saying it, but that was a really good game. Um, Definitely worth the $2 I spent. Um, I mean, it was a short game, almost as short as What Remains of Edith Finch. I think both of them are considered indie games. Was What Remains of Edith Finch an indie game? I don't know. All I know is this is a good game for one that's about mm, not not extremely long. So yeah, this was a really good game. I don't like the silence though. Silence is unnerving. Why? Okay. Is there just more to it? Based on the 2007 mod by the Chinese Room. Dear Esther was developed by the Chinese Room. That was Dear Esther. I still don't understand a single thing that happened in that game. Good game though. Really, really good game. Huh. I legitimately suggest playing the game. Buying it. I don't know if it's on anything. I know it's on PlayStation because I'm playing it on PlayStation, but huh. Well, yeah, that was Dear Esther.